is an established videographer and the owner of Greater Visuals based in Sydney, Australia. His passion and drive for doing what he does continues to inspire others to create quality content. Whether behind or in front of the lens, Orville gives everything, he does his all, and that is what makes him the inspiring individual that he is today.
Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of In Love With Me, where we feature inspiring individuals who will share their amazing stories. I am your host, Mafae Yunon Velasco, and for this series, our topic is passion and purpose. For this episode, we have an empowered man, videographer, and content creator to motivate us to take action. So without further ado, let's welcome the amazing Orville Tagud. Hi, Orville.
Hello, Mafae and audience. How is everyone? Very good.
Good. You're in Sydney right now, right?
Yes, I am. We are beachside near Coogee, and the weather is perfect. I hope it is over there in Manila, I think.
I didn't know you were staying in Coogee. I used to go there like every day during college. My college was down the street from Coogee.
Yeah.
You're in paradise.
Yeah, just a bit of a sea change, I think, something different.
Well, I know that the beach is probably keeping you busy and everything else with your career. But before I ask you what you've been doing lately, can you please share with everyone on why you are the empowered and inspiring man that you are today?
Wow, well, I hope inspiring is the right word to describe me, but empowered, I think, in the sense that I have gone on a journey to discover what it is that I loved doing. And so, my background is, I was born in the Philippines, in Zamboanga City, down south. And I migrated to Australia with my family when I was 14. And so from there, I took on, that practical route where I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so in that process, I thought I'd do something practical, get straight into it. So I studied business, accounting. And, through a process of working in the industry and qualifying to be a chartered accountant, I realized that, pursuing a creative path is something that I wanted to do. And I stumbled across that, by accident, funnily enough. And it was really a journey of empowering myself to get through that stage, because as you know, pursuing a creative path isn't the most straightforward thing. It's hard to see what that looks like from a financial standpoint. But, through a series of, things that were through a series of events where I put myself out there and just added value to people, here I am today running a video production business called Greater Visuals. And part of me going through this journey is to inspire people as well and to pursue what they love. And so I hope that's it.
Yeah, and what I love about Orville, when I first met him, we met through a mutual friend, Atikala. Thank you for introducing me to Orville. He came down to the Philippines, and then she shared with me that you had a talent for videography and creating content. So when we met, I think, did I put you in the spot already, or did we meet first and chat first? Do you remember?
No. Didn't really put me on the spot, but can I tell a quick story?
Yeah, go ahead.
And this is another story of empowerment. And so I met Mafae, through a mutual friend, and we organized the meeting and everything. And I was waiting, a young, videographer. I didn't really know what I was doing, probably still now. And I was due to meet this person called Mafae. Who is this Mafae person that I hear so much about? And so I'm waiting at this cafe, and she comes through the door, tall and just shoulders straight. And I was just like in shock, like, wow, this person has this presence. I think that's where you had that presence that really empowered me to think, wow, like this is what we could achieve. And so Yeah, couldn't see my face.
Orville. Stop it.
I was like, wow. I sort of froze, thinking, oh gosh, I'm wearing my chinelas, like fresh off the streets of Mandaluyong.
Well, anywho, you made us like, wow. Until now, we're like, Orville, when are you coming back? When are you coming back to the Philippines? Orville is a one-man show when it comes to content creating. Wow. And you are amazing at what you do. And it's the reason why I wanted to share you here because, of course, like you said, I've had experience in the industry, the fashion and entertainment industry, but never have I come across someone like you. I mean, we did a collaboration for a client of mine, and you were able to shoot and encourage me even to host because I was feeling under the weather. I was just talking to Nico about that. I was complaining to you about, Orville, I can't host this because I have a cold and I'm going to sound so ngongo, which is like, not clear in Tagalog terms for people out there doesn't know what ngongo means. And you were just like, nah, you can do it, just do it. And so I did it. You made it so smooth. Even the flow of how your videos were together, that was something amazing to me because you did that so fast and so well. And then another experience that you had out here, I brought you to a fashion show. Do you remember that?
Yes. Oh, how could I forget?
And you were just in your element. We lost you actually the event started, Orville was gone, and then we saw him at the end, still, interviewing people, like very like initiating the networking. I love that about you, Orville. And what is your drive when you're put in that kind of situation?
I think that drive comes from me really just wanting to stretch on my creativity. But first of all, thank you, Mafae, for that opportunity. I remember coming there and meeting with you, and straight away we were onto it. You gave me that opportunity. You've opened those doors for me, and I may have stepped over the line and pushed you to perform while you were sick, but somehow we pulled through. But yeah, so that particular event, the drive for me there was as soon as I arrived at that venue, and mind you, that was a beautiful venue. Thank you for inviting me there. As soon as I arrived at that venue, I thought, well, every photographer and every videographer in this venue is doing their own thing behind the scenes, taking photos, taking videos, and not really interacting with people. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to ask random people, maybe fashion designers, just interview them off the cuff and see what happens. And so there I was, asking people to, give their 2 cents about the event. And long story short, I ended up interviewing the CEO of that event, I think. Something crazy. And he probably just thought, oh, wow.
You interviewed one of the main designers, which was Pablo Cabahog, and then also the organizer of the whole Manila Fashion Week. And we were just like, okay, Orville, go for gold. But maybe that's the reason why your passion just overflows, because when you see the opportunity, you just take the chance. And that's something that a lot of people do not realize, that when you are put in front of an event or something that looks very important, you have to make sure that you take that chance on speaking to every single person there, because you just never know, right? I'm sure Orville did not know that was like the CEO. And then afterwards, when he edited the full video, I was like, wow, you got all that footage.
Yeah. I mean, and that's me usually at weddings or different corporate events. I don't really try to sit down. I think, because I like stretching in my creativity, I think it just flows in my action. And before you know it, I'm running around and I've disappeared.
And that's the question that I was going to ask you. I mean, you just got married recently. Congratulations, by the way. And
thank you.
I know that you were itching to take so much footage during your wedding, but you had to hold back, right?
I did.
I know you will.
Yeah. I think I was this close to hiring a stand-in for me. No, I'm kidding.
I even saw you guys. I think you were able to go on a tour in a helicopter Was that
Yes.
in America somewhere? In New York? Was it New York?
Yeah, so we were lucky enough to do 2 trips, one in Grand Canyon and one in Manhattan in New York. Really good experience. I think the best way to see the city, I think.
Yeah. And you got all that footage, and I was like, man, you just need Orville. Like, when you have a wedding, you don't even need anyone else but him, because he will cover all the sides.
Oh yeah. That's the plan. Yeah.
So going back when you first started, I mean, I
Mhm.
know that this type of career is a little bit expensive because of all the equipment, right? So what did you start with? What kind of camera? What kind of equipment? Can you advise, let's say, people that want to follow your footsteps and start being a videographer or even a photographer? What's your advice on how they can start?
Yes. Well, funny enough, the way I started was it was me trying to pursue a new hobby, and so I actually bought one of the top end cameras from Sony at that time, not really knowing what I wanted to do with it. And I actually ended up selling that camera for something a bit cheaper because I realized that it wasn't really about the equipment; it was more about how do you use the equipment. And so, in a general sense, I'd probably say the same thing to any aspiring creative out there who is wanting to start, is to just start with what you have in front of you, whether that's your mobile phone or your dad's handy camera, and just build on from there, and really using that tool and making the most out of it, and progressing from there. So start with the best camera that you have is the one that is in front of you. So that's always my quick tip.
And I think you're not the only one. Out of all other successful creatives that I speak with, they always share that, like, you have to build with what you have, because there's no point of buying something expensive and not understanding what it is about, and having that eye, right? I think, Orville, you have that eye. I think one of my friends, G. Pumenko, he's now a photographer, known photographer out here, and he was saying exactly what you said. Study your style, I guess, and then that's how you are able to use what you have, instead of, okay, you buy the most expensive thing and then you don't even know all the specs of it, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And for me, it's also 2 things. It's, yes, you're right, discovering your style and using that tool, but more importantly with video, and I'm sure with photography as well, it's also about looking at what solution could you provide to your client with the tool that you have, and using that tool to the best of your ability. It's the same as sports. You can have the most expensive basketball shoe, but if you're not practicing every day with it, then you're pretty much all gear, no game. But with that being said, I still do suffer from gear envy, and I still find myself looking at different pieces of equipment, but I always just hold myself back and just keep myself from making buying decisions that I might regret in the future. So we're all on that journey.
So, with all the events that you've covered, what's the most memorable, and I guess what's the most challenging for you?
Wow. Apart from that Manila Fashion Festival, I thought that was very memorable because that was the first one where I really got myself to go out there. What comes to mind that's memorable for me? I think one of the very first ones that I covered, which was a real estate event in the city. And I was tasked to shoot as an assistant at that time. And that was one of my first big events. And I just remember being so nervous walking into that massive event, thinking everyone in this event is looking at me, when really they're not, they're looking at the stage. And so I think I remember specifically taking a step back and thinking, okay, well, it's not about me, it's about the job at hand. And as soon as I realized that in that moment, the sooner I got myself to actually getting on with it. So I forget the name of that event, but it was in the city in the Hyatt Regency in Darling Harbour. And 100% that would be so super memorable because it's one of those moments where you have to step out of your comfort zone and just run with the knowledge that you have and the skills that you have. So
I'm sure that weddings also become a challenge for you because it's it's an event that is significant to the family, the couple that is getting married. Would it be the first wedding that you covered? Were you nervous? Were you what was going through your mind?
Absolutely. The first wedding I covered, I just made sure that I had as much preparation as I could. You know, whenever I was given that opportunity, any wedding, I always felt like, wow, thank you so much for, entrusting me with this task to cover your most special day. And the very first few weddings that I've done, you know, I was nervous, but I think preparation builds your confidence. And so I remember a couple of times I'd go straight to YouTube and look up, common mistakes that videographers do, or common mistakes that you shouldn't do at a wedding, and just try not to make those mistakes. Right now, I don't do weddings anymore, not because I love it. I don't love it, but because I've decided to focus more on corporate videography and education. But 100%, like it's such a privilege. And usually when it's your first time, you do get a bit nervous, but I think the more you do it, it's so easy. Like it's just second nature, and you never miss a kiss or anything like that, which I never have actually. Never missed a kiss.
That's awesome. But you were talking about preparation is key, right? So what is it? When you know that you have an event coming up, do you prepare the night before or the week before? And when you do prepare, what is the process? Because I know I have like I said, like the other creatives I talk to, they unpack everything the night before just to make sure everything's like working. Do you do that?
Yes, I mean, we all have our processes, but I think for me, it starts off with weeks in advance before the event starts. I really get a good understanding of what it is that they are trying to achieve by showcasing that event, so what story. And so, yes, it's easy to film something, but if the message that you're trying to capture isn't on point, then that's something that you need to figure out at the beginning. So really figuring out that story. And then from there, getting all the logistical aspects together. So I do have a final sort of brief that I have in front of me for the day, right down to each specific hour or half an hour of that event. I know exactly what I'm doing or what my team is doing. And so I boil everything down to that brief, and I'm able to share that with the client as well to show them that, this is the preparation that we've put in. And more importantly, this is what we will be doing the whole day. And so we're not like running around like headless chickens. We're actually on a mission to capture this event for you. So the logistic aspects is one thing, and also practicing with any new equipment that I might have, and just double checking things, because in this industry, or in this line of work, it's so easy to just think, if I just rock up with the camera, it should be fine. And your camera fails or whatever for whatever reason. So having your equipment ready and having backups for that as well is part of my process.
Right. Then when you are at the event, how is your process? Do you have like a list of captures or list of things that you need to capture, or do you go above and beyond that list? What would be your advice to, let's say, aspiring videographers again? Should you tell them to just take what the list is, or do you take more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the whole purpose of the list as well, is to allow you that creative freedom once you tick those boxes, right? And, we're not here to just, follow a be-all, end-all list. I think that list is there so that you, once you leave that event, for sure that you've done your very best because you've gone through that list. But a part of making that list is also allowing yourself that creative freedom to go out and stretch. And so I always put a little bit of a buffer in the things that I do, and I always try to empower my team as well to capture the way they would like to capture. I also set expectations of the type of shots that I'd like to get, because it's easy to communicate something, but I find that with creatives or people in general, you really have to be good at communicating that. And so, coming back to your question, a really good preparation will really allow you to that time to stretch and try new things.
Right. And then you also talked about equipment. Of course, with your line of work, there's a big you have to depend on equipment a lot. So did you ever have an experience where your equipment kind of failed you, and what did you do when that happened?
Oh yeah, wow. Okay, take a deep breath. So
Yes.
I was flying. I was flying a drone, and we already know where this is going. But I was flying a drone during a real estate shoot for a. Well, it wasn't a real estate client, but it was for someone's house. And anyway, I flew it, and stupid me, not looking where the drone was. Long story short, it hit a tree, and I could just hear like this whipper-snipping, lawn mowing sound hitting the trees, and the drone just going boom on the ground during a client shoot. And I remember thinking to myself, after grabbing my heart from the floor, to just take a deep breath, pick the drone up and say, oh, look, it crashed, and I'll have to come back tomorrow, and I won't charge you for that. And just walked away, with my head held high and just my tail behind my back. But, they say there's two types of drone flyers, people who have crashed it and people who have yet to crash it. So, it happened in the worst case scenario, but I think in those moments, you just have to carry on with the job and be solution focused and not, because I actually froze for like 2 seconds, but yeah.
Did I bring back some memories?
Yeah.
But I mean, at least, I don't know, maybe have you had incidents where you finished a job and lost all the... Oh my, so how did you, what did you do? I don't even know how to ask you.
Well, I mean, there have been instances, not a lot, where things don't necessarily go to plan, or the expectation with the client. There's been a slight mismatch with the expectation, or something hasn't been communicated. I think in those moments, I've always just had to take a step back and really just focus more on how do we fix this and how do we move forward with this job. So regardless of what the mistake was, it's all about how do we move forward with this with the best way possible. How do we rectify it? And so that's always been my approach with those types of things. And so far it's worked, and you can get clients that can get a little emotionally attached to the work, and understandably, if it's like a special event or something like that. But I think it's just up to us as professionals to keep it professional and not really personal. So I think, I don't really want to name too many, not that I've had too many. But I do remember in those moments where, if the expectation hasn't been met, it's just taking a step back and saying, how do we move forward from this? So how can we make it better? In fact, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about you. What is your definition of me time, Orville?
Definition of me time, yes. Well, funny enough, this hobby of mine now, this job, this business that I'm running now, used to be a hobby. And so for me time, as an introvert, is just going on YouTube, being by myself, watching something entertaining. And it used to be going out and capturing content. But nowadays, since moving to the beach, I've taken up surfing, and so far so good. It's a long process, but for me, I think just taking myself away from my that normal environment is my best definition of me time. And I think that's different for everyone, introvert or extrovert. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned that when you watch a lot of movies,
yes,
it's also part of your, I guess, education, right? You're learning from other directors, producers and things like that. So what is your thoughts about Korean movies, K-drama?
Korean drama.
The way that they do their videography is what I'm saying. Have you watched any?
Yeah. I think it's well, not a lot actually. The last Korean movie I watched was Parasite by Bong Joon-ho. Well-acclaimed movie.
Okay.
I don't really find myself watching a lot of Korean dramas. But that being said, I do come across a lot of Korean music videos, And I think in all of those videos, they're always quite well produced, and it's just so perfect. I wish I could, I could go to Korea and be a Korean pop star. I think that dream is still there. That's why I'm wearing this shirt,
Well, you can. You got all your equipment. You just got to face them towards you now.
Right. If you want something, go for it, I think.
Okay, so let's talk about like you mentioned that if you want to be a content creator, you can actually do it through your phone. So there's a lot of course, everyone is a videographer and a photographer when it comes to using their phones for their social media and even TikTok and things like that. So what would be your advice on maybe angles? Let's say I'm new and I'm asking you for advice. Hey, Orville, how do I what's the best position, or where should I put my phone when I'm taking a TikTok video, or even taking a selfie, or just a video greeting to post on my social media?
Gotcha. Okay. So there's a couple of things there. So I think let's focus on, using video in the best light for personal use on social media. So you'd do a number of things, but I think the one that is most common is really just making sure that you've got good lighting on your face. Make sure that you're not backlit. Make sure as well that it's well composed. And so, it's quite a heartbreak for me sometimes when you ask people to take photos of yourself, and it's like crooked and your head's cut off. Like, wow, were you looking at the lens the whole time, or were you looking at something else? No, I'm kidding.
No, that's true though. It happens.
It's just like,
that's why the selfie stick was like the biggest equipment that was sold to everyone, because no one wanted someone else there when you're traveling to take it. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah. So, well, that being said, though, you still have your selfie photos that are like a bit crooked, but I think, knowing how to compose a shot is critical as well, and that really depends on the story that you're trying to tell. If you're trying to showcase a sense of loneliness or a sense of isolation, then you'd probably just have that one person in a big sort of frame. Or if you want a fun, intimate environment, you would probably go up close. So there are a number of ways of doing it, and a number of resources as well online on how to do it. I think when it comes to social media and posting videos for that, what's common these days is to shoot in portrait mode. Normally, you'd probably go with landscape if you were shooting, say, for YouTube. But because the majority of people are on mobile devices, what you'd really want to do is maximize the amount of screen that your video is taking up. And so portrait mode allows you to do that. Or even if you were to shoot a landscape video, probably make it square. And so when people are scrolling through their feed, it immediately catches their attention. And so I think doing that is good. But then there are also instances where portrait mode wouldn't probably fit, with the story that you're telling. And I think the last tip I would give is just to, make sure your hands are steady. The last thing I want is my audience to vomit and get nauseous. And so just keep it simple, right? Like, point your phone like this, look straight into the camera, not at yourself. You're talking to your audience, not to yourself. Look straight into the camera, connect with your audience, and just say what it is that you're saying. And so I think with composition, that's probably what I would suggest. And storytelling is another aspect as well.
No, that makes sense, because there are times that I would catch myself looking at myself just to make sure my light is okay. But yeah. You remind me of that, because all I see is this black dot now. So it looks like I'm talking to you straight, right?
Well, that's correct? It. Well, funny enough, yeah. I've actually got a DSLR camera in substituting my webcam, and I've got like an orange sticky tape to point at the camera so I can remind myself to look at you. It's like
that's a good one.
Tape. Yeah, and it's bright and orange as well, so that
That's a good one. I gotta do that too. But that's all great tips, Orville. You know, I'm sure that everybody else has so many other questions to ask. I mean, I do. I'll make sure that your social media feed is, social media handles are here on this caption. But do invite everyone also where to find you, and also what projects that might be coming up on, or how they can collaborate with you.
Sure. Yes, the best way to connect with me is through my website, which is greatervisuals.com. My Facebook page is also here, and also my Instagram page, which is Orbs, Orvs Tagud, Orbs Tagud, and I should pop up in the search.
And you have a question here, and I think it was a question I asked you earlier.
Okay.
How do you use your DSLR as a webcam?
How do I use my DSLR as a webcam? Awesome. So there are a number of options. And so I think, Mafae, you and I spoke about this beforehand, but so with Canon cameras, I'm not sure which particular model it is, but you should be able to connect using a USB-C cable that comes with it, depending on the type of camera that you have. The setup I have got at the moment is a professional switch by Blackmagic Design called the Blackmagic A10 Mini Pro, and this is great for running virtual events. But just below that is this thing called a Camlink. It's basically, from my understanding, a HDMI input that plugs into a HDMI cable that goes to your camera, and the other side of that input goes into your computer. So if you don't have a Canon camera, I think that would be your next best option. Or really just walking to any camera store and saying, hey, I want to connect my camera to my computer. What can I do? Because everyone's setup is different. So, but those will be the three things I'd recommend. Okay.
So Alex said, I have a Canon 1100D. Does that work?
Wow, 1100D. Wow. I don't know. I think it comes down to. I really don't. It comes down to what Canon says. Yeah, and that's the thing. With the line of work that I do, it is a lot of research. It is a lot of looking up online, looking up reviews on YouTube. But from doing my research into live streaming, I came across that fact. So 1100D, I don't think so. It sounds like I wouldn't want to say old to offend anyone, but it doesn't seem like one of those recent models that would allow you to do that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And guys, if you want to know anything more about Orville and the way that he even edits, like, guys, he's a YouTuber. So you got to check out that, because I am entertained with all his travels. I'm sure it's up to date up until your wedding. But yeah, it's so fun. If you guys are running out of things to watch on Netflix and other YouTube series, watch Orville's page. I'm gonna put it out there, Orville. He's very talented, guys, and also very quirky. So you have to be ready to laugh.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But Orville, thank you for being part of this campaign. I appreciate you taking a time out of your busy schedule to inspire others and to motivate them to want to make more creative content. And I'm sure the tips that you shared has inspired them to either enhance the way that they take selfies or even videos, because you've definitely taught me. But before I wrap up and say bye to you, can you please share with everyone, especially at this time during quarantine period, on words of wisdom? How can people stay motivated? How can people stay hopeful and know that there are going to be more opportunities after this challenging time? Absolutely.
Well, it's no doubt this whole situation hasn't been the best for everyone. And that's the reality of it all. And I think just reflecting on how I've dealt with it, running a business and being impacted by this whole situation, I think being optimistic is your first and foremost best thing to do. Really looking at the things that you can control and moving in that direction of really empowering yourself to take charge of whatever it is that you can take charge of. And the reality is, you need to give yourself a break when it comes to, maybe things not being the way they were. Give yourself that time to just readjust. I think you're allowed that. It's an unprecedented event. And so I think just giving yourself that time to refocus and reassess what it is that you want to do. I think if you were working a job, then I think it's an opportunity to take a step back and think, okay, well, if I've been made redundant or if I've been made unemployed, I'll probably just take this as an opportunity to reassess what it is that I really want to do, or what opportunities are out there for me apart from my job. I think if you are running a business, like myself, I think again it comes down to taking action, looking at the things that you can control, and moving forward in that direction. I remember coming to this space. I wasn't really skilled with like live streaming or online videos, but as soon as the whole pandemic happened, I quickly pivoted, and instead of me sitting around and complaining and looking at the things that are happening and filling myself with negative energy or negative news, I think the best thing for me was to stay solution focused and not focus on the problem. For me as well, I think one of the paramount things is having faith as well. As a Christian, I think that's something that I hold on to. And it's great that, in times like this, you can see that this could be a setback, but it could actually be a setup. And time again, I've had moments in my life where I thought, wow, like this situation sucks. But because I've taken those steps to move forward, I've quickly looked back and thought, wow, like God's been so good during that time. And again, surround yourself with people, people that would move you forward. It's a time where it's hard, with the limitation of physical interaction, but it's great because we can connect like this, Mafae. Like, you and I were chatting, in different countries, different time zones. I think, use the tools that are in front of you and connect with people. Try new things, and try and get around people who are positive and on that same journey as you. So I think in a nutshell, stay positive, get to work, and have faith. It's going to get better.
Yes, I agree with Orville. And we have to say thank you to everyone who's tuned in, most especially, I think your mom is so proud of you. She's saying, that is my son. She's tuned in. Thank you. Sheila, of course, my mom's tuned in always. Thank you for your support and the support. We have Girly Ball.
Oh, yes.
Nico, thank you.
Hello, Nico.
And then also your dad, perhaps?
My dad, yeah.
Yeah, watching you.
Amazing.
And of course, thank you, Alex, for tuning, for all your questions. The things that Orville shared with us today, I'm very grateful for you being transparent with everything, because these are the words that people need to hear, most especially right now. And it was so great to catch up with you again. You made my day. I'm going to be laughing after this, all our shared stories. But my take homes from Orville, my favorites, what you've said is that preparation is very key. It helps build confidence. So especially even right now, when you are all at home and trying to figure out what to do with the challenging times, prepare yourself for a big opportunity that's about to come to your door, to your plate. Yes. So I believe in also, to take action and to pivot. This is not the end, guys. This is something for us to take a chance to step up, like Orville said. And I really appreciate all those words, because it's basically what I'm trying to promote here. And with that, actions speak louder than words. And thank you guys for tuning in this episode of In Love With Me. Orville, thank you so much.
Thank you for watching In Love with Me series.